Everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to another tutorial. It's me, IG, and I'm back with a new tutorial. On today's tutorial, we are going to DIY this beautiful gown that you are seeing on the screen. That is what we are going to DIY today. It's so simple to achieve. So guys, if today is your first time of stopping by, you are highly welcome. My returning subscribers, you guys are amazing. So without wasting much of your time, let us dive into today's tutorial. As you can see, right before me is my basic bodice pattern. I just drafted it. If you have not known how to draft it, please check my other tutorials. I've made a well-detailed tutorial on how to achieve this. So now from the shoulder, here is our starting point, the shoulder to the chest to the bust point, under bust, waist and allowance. Just get your accurate measurement on how to do that. So the nipple to nipple we are working now is 4.5. So we are going to insert our 4.5 here on the bust point. Then we bring it down to the allowance. I will now make it into a straight line. And on each side of this nipple to nipple measurement, we are going to insert our darts. So now we are going to start from the under bust. On the under bust, I'm going to insert 1 1/4 on each side. 1 1/4 on each side, and I'll bring it down to the allowance, 1 1/4. That is the dart we are using. You are free to use any dart of your choice, starting from 1/2 inch to 1 1/2 inch. So we are going to connect it. Do you see it? From the under bust, we connect to the waist and then to the allowance. And on this bust point now, to ease the area of the bust, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch. So I will now connect it using my curve. I'll connect it, do you see it? Using my armhole curve, just to get that curve. Do you see it? And on the shoulder side, we are going to check what we have. Remember, this is the shoulder. The shoulder we are working with is 9 inches, 8.5, 17 inches divided by 2 is 8.5 plus 1/2 inch, that is 9 inches. So that is the 9 inches here. And we came down by 1 inch as our shoulder slope. And the neck opening I use is 3 inch. I will also increase it, but I'm making use of 3 inch for now. So let us see what we have left here. Let us insert our normal. So I'm going to come in more by 1 inch to make the neck opening 4 inches. So I'm going to go down by 4 inches. So we are now using the neck wide of 4 inches. So what is now left here, we are going to measure it. What is left is 5 inches. We are going to divide it by 2, which is 2.5. Here is our 2.5. And on this 2.5, I'm going to connect it down to the bust point. Do you see it? Because we want to achieve our yoke, that is why we are doing it in this form. So from this bust point, I'm going to also go up by 1/2 inch. I'm doing this to ease the area of our bust. So now let us determine the neck depth that we want to use as the yoke. We are going to use 6 inches. So from here, from the shoulder down here, this is our 6 inches. That is where our neck depth is going to be. So I'm going to mark on this 6 inches here. So on this side of the 6 inches, I'm going to take also 1 inch dart from each side. So I'm going to connect it also to this 1/2 inch that we came up. So do you see it now, guys? So now let us determine the sweetheart neckline that we want to achieve. If you want, you can just come down straight. but I want it to be a sweetheart. So from this chest line now, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. Do you see it? So from there, I'll use my curve to curve it from this dart. I'll curve it here because I want it to have a sweetheart neckline. You can do any sweetheart neckline of your choice. So do you see it, guys? This is our sweetheart neckline. And on this side, I'm going to connect it to the armhole here. Do you see it? So now, remember, this dart, we are not going to keep it open like this. We are going to close it. So just take your ruler, or you can use your free hand just to close it up. Can equally go down how you want it to be. You can equally go down. So now let's close it with our curve. Do you see it? So we now came down a little more of the armhole by 1 inch because we now used our curve to curve it. So now this is the length we want it to be on the armhole. So we are going to now curve it to get to the armhole. Do you see it? So this is the way we are going to cut it out. Do you see it, guys? So now let us insert our accurate measurement. The bust we are working with is bust 42. Measurement we are working with is 42.5. Divided by 4, we are going to have 10.6. So we are going to measure our 10.6 here. Here is our 10.6. Remember, this dart is going out, so we are going to measure what we have. 1 inch is going out from this dart, so we are going to add it here. And we are going to add extra ½ inch on both sides, 1 inch plus 1.5 inch to sew it, and extra allowance, that is 2.5 inches as our seam allowance. Do you see it? So we have added it there. So on this bust point, we are not adding any measurement. Then we now come down to the waist. The waist we are working with is waist 41. 41 divided by 4 is going to give us 10.25. So we are going to measure our 10.25 here. Here is our 10. We are going to add our 10.25 here. Do you see it? Here is our 10.25. We are also bring it down to the allowance, 10.25. Then bring it down to the allowance also, and also add 5 inches as our seam allowance. 2.5 that is going out of the dart, and 2.5 as our main allowance. So we now add 5 inches here. So the next thing is to connect it together. So from the armhole, from the chest, we are going to connect to our waist using our hip curve. Do you see it? So that is it. So now here is our yoke. Here is our yoke, and the depth of our neckline on the yoke, we are going to make use of 4 inches. So we are going to also use our armhole curve to curve it. You can also curve it with your free hands. Do you see it? So the next thing, on the upper side, remember your ½ inch on the yoke to join it to the back. So do you see it? So now all these darts are going out. These darts are going out. Remember, we are going to place it on our material and cut it out. And now the back panel, this is our back panel, also our basic bodice. Just take down your measurement, and on the waist, we now determine our nipple to nipple, which is 4.5 inches. And we also come down to the chest line, 4.5 inches, and we give a straight line. And on this chest line, you come down by 1 inch. And on each of the nipple to nipple measurements, I take in ½ inch and I connect it to the 1 inch that I came out to the chest line. So let us insert our main measurement. So the waist we are working with is 10.25. We now add 10.25. Remember this 1 inch your dart, you place it back, and also 2.5 inches as your seam allowance. You also place it, and on the chest we are working with is 10.6. We now place our 10.6 on the chest and also add our 2.5 inches, that is 2.5 inches, and we now join it together. And the yoke, remember the yoke, we came down on the front side. We are going to check the yoke that we have. Remember, from the armhole our yoke is 6.5, so we are going to also place it on the back to have our 6.5 as our yoke. And we are going to, on this side that is on the center, if you want you can draw a straight line, but we are going to come down by 1 inch from the chest line to give it a curve at the back. So we are going to connect it in this form. So this is going to be our yoke. This is how our yoke is going to be. Remember, while cutting it out, add 1/2 inch on all the sides to join it together. So now I'm going to add 1/2 inch on this upper side and 1/2 inch on this down side when cutting it together so that I can join it. So now the next thing is just to cut it out. So I'm going to cut it out, place it on my material and cut out my material. Then I'll write. Don't forget to insert your neck measurement, that is the neck style that you want to achieve. So I came down by 2 inches from the upper side, that is shoulder, and I now curve it. That is, I'm using 2 inches as my neck depth at the back. You can equally determine any style of your back. You can determine to come down to give it an opening. You can also make any style of your choice, but for the moment we are using 2 inches. We can equally decide to go down, but we are going to do all gradually. So guys, let's now. Guys, this is the fish skirt. The down part of it is a fish skirt with tail. If you don't know how to cut it out, I've made a well-detailed video on how to cut out a fish skirt with tail. Please check it out. It's so simple and easy to cut. Now guys, I have cut out our material. I'm using velvet. I've cut it out and also added the gum stay to it, and also wording to pad the bust area. Do you see it? So I've cut out all our panels that we just drafted, and this is the skirt. We have also cut it with the lining. So the next thing to do now is just to take it to the machine to start fixing it together. Just fix our front panel and the back panel, and I also use our 1 inch seam that allow. Now guys, I have joined our panels like I said. Do you see it? This is the back. I've joined it, and also I've added the net. Do you see the net? I did not double it because I didn't want to sew it. I just want to leave it in this form. So also the zip, I have also added the zip to it, and I did inseam finishing. Do you see it? So our back panel is ready, and this is the front panel also. I've also joined the front panel. I added also boning to it. Do you see it? So I added boning to it, and I've also joined the net. Do you see it? And also the down part of it, which we all did together. So the next thing to do now is just to take the back panel, to place it on top of the front panel, then take our measurements. Remember, we added 1 inch measurements. So I'm going to take it now to close it. You can take your tape to measure. Do you see it? To measure what you have. Do you see it? So I will now use 1 inch to close it, and after which I will now close also the shoulder, that is the net part of it, and our sleeve. I've made our sleeve ready. This is the sleeve I'm going to use. I just trace out the flowers that is on the material that we are using, the flowers that is on it. I just use my snail cutter to just trace it out. I just trace it. I took 4 of it. I took different colors, and I also used hard gum stay to put on it, and also sew it together, and use my zigzag, do you see it, to just trim the edges to make it look nice, and also cut out the sleeve that I'm going to use. So I cut it out and I place it on it. Do you see it? So now I'm going to attach it to our gown, and we'll see the look. Now guys, I have joined the front and back together. Do you see it? This is our back. I've joined it together with the front, and also joined the sleeve. Do you see it? I've joined the sleeve and I've closed the shoulder. Do you see it, guys? So the next thing I have to do now is just to use my trim to just beautify it. So I have my trim here. If you want, you can use thread and needle to tack it to the material, that is to what you are doing to your project, but I would like to use my gum. So now I'm going to use it in this form. First on the neck area, so I'm going to place it. Just place it anyhow you want, but following what is on the screen, I'm going to place it in this form. Do you see it? On the neck side, I'm going to place it on this form, and on the waist, I'm going to also place this on the waist. I'm going to place it very well, carefully. Place it on the waist. I'll make it to have a curve. Do you see it? I'll use this to place it in this form to have a curve. Do you see it? So I'll now use this to place here to cover it up. Do you see it? So I'll use my gum now to attach it to it. Then I'll put it on the mannequin for us to see the final look. This is the final look of our gown that we have just made. Do you see how beautiful it is? So lovely. Do you see it? I've used the gum to attach the trim. Do you see how beautiful it is? You can decide to add any sleeve of your choice. I decided to use the material to cut it out. I showed to you guys. Just trim it out and use your zigzag to finish it. So this is the final look. If this tutorial has been helpful, don't forget to smash the like button. Support me to grow this channel. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. See you in my next video. For now, bye.